It is 6:30 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting, special meeting of the Police Commission to order. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our terms have expired, and we need to, as a first order of business, elect officers. So I will entertain a motion to appoint someone as acting chair for the purpose of agenda item 2.
Well, Chubb, I nominate you as acting chair.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
First order of business would be election of a chair. I would like to take this opportunity with great pleasure to nominate Renee Shippey to be chair of the Police Commission.
I would second that.
Any discussion? Any other nominations? I invite a motion to close the nominations.
So moved.
All in favor? Oh, second. Aye. Congratulations, Renee.
Thank you very much.
Renee, let me turn it over to you.
Okay, I'd like to take nominations for vice chair.
I would like to nominate Chubb.
Thank you.
I will second that.
Is there any other nominations? Make a motion to close nominations.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? I think it was all of us. No,
Abstain.
sorry, abstentions, got it. Okay, I open the floor for nominations for secretary.
I nominate Jill Nutter Francesco.
I nominate Carl.
Is there any other nominations? And make a motion to close nominations.
Did you have something? to say?
I was just going to second Jill.
Yeah.
I didn't get a second, so I'm not, unless there's only one nomination at a time.
Yes,
Tom.
usually there is
Yeah.
only one.
Yeah, so we have a nomination for
Yeah.
Jill that's been moved and seconded, so
Okay,
Now it's next.
then
all right.
you nominate Carl.
I'll nominate Carl.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay,
I move to close the
yeah, move
nominations.
to close the nominations.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor of Jill?
Aye.
By saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So we have 4, right?
Yep.
Okay. So carries, Jill's the secretary.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next item, discussion and possible action regarding the position of second in command for the Department of Police Services. I think I'm going to begin by turning it over to Chief Onofrio. I think the first thing we need to discuss is what we think this position is going to be and, what the chief favors and why.
Yeah,
Go
so,
with that?
yeah,
Okay.
before we speak to that exact item, I think we need to talk about the structure of the department.
Okay.
Why that position is relevant. So I did a draft general order, but we already have one that carries right now. This is something that would like to replace, but I wanted you all to see, how I envision the department structure to look like and why a second plan is necessary. So it's the one that's says issued by William C. and O'Brien. The one that is currently in place was issued by Chief Bureau. Current in place. If you look at the last page, the organizational chart. So how I think that this part of best works within the confines of 25 sworn officers, and then the addition of part-time per diem ACOs and SROs and community service officers. So obviously, the police commission is the command, and that's where we take our direction from. I'm under that, and a captain would be the second in charge, the way I structured it. Underneath the captain, and I'll talk about the responsibilities of captain shortly, will be an operations lieutenant and administrative lieutenant. After that, the supervisory structure would be 5 patrol sergeants, and then 2 part-time detectives, which are interchangeable. They're temporary assignments, and the 3 SROs. The only other staffing we have would be the dispatchers, where there's 7 dispatchers and 1 supervisory dispatcher, and the 3 SROs that I touched on earlier. So then that stays within the confines of our budget with 25 officers. And why I'm moving, I know there's questions about deputy chief as opposed to a captain. I think the deputy chief role isn't necessary in a department this size. I think the captain is a better fit. The captain would be a little more of a line personnel supervisor, whereas I mean by that, he'd be overseeing the field services and less of the administrative roles. I think it's kind of redundant to have a deputy chief and a chief right now. If the department grows in the future, it might be necessary, but right now I think we need the captain to oversee lieutenants and the patrol sergeants and ultimately the field personnel. And they would be responsible for a lot of the field operations, patrol, detectives, some policy implementation. The accreditation is a big piece that has to be overseen. We have a lieutenant that's doing it, but I definitely need some more oversight on that as well. The budgetary and planning and policy would still fall under my scope of responsibility. It wouldn't be something that I would expect of the captain, but I would want the captain to have not oversight, but some knowledge of the budget and the constraints of each division and the spending. So I developed job descriptions for both, just so we can see, we can compare. And like these are just drafts. These aren't anything that I've been formally put out to the public or really put into place. And kind of spelled out what I thought the minimum qualifications of each position would be. A deputy chief would require higher degree of qualifications, which is generally for that, as opposed to the captain. Captain, I would be looking for somebody to hire that has 10 to 15 years of experience in law enforcement with some command level experience, preferably as a lieutenant or a captain already. Doesn't mean we couldn't recruit a deputy chief that's willing to take a captain's position. That's always an option. And it's very similar to some of the qualifications we use for the chief for my selection. When I refer to these 2 positions, whatever one the commission decides is most appropriate, in my mind, they're both non-union positions. So, and that's something that's actually pretty important to me. So I need a second in command that's outside of the union, and I need that for internal affairs investigations, for discipline, and assist me with some of the labor negotiations. So I did do some research to give you some idea of some of our surrounding agencies, what their structures look like. And we tried to find agencies within the 25 officer realm, the 40. East Windsor is a pretty comparable department. They have 27 officers. They have 1 chief. They have 1 deputy chief. They have 2 lieutenants, and then 5 sergeants. So essentially, the structure mirrors what I'm proposing here. So they have a deputy chief as opposed to a captain.
Can you tell me that one more time, please?
So East Windsor, they have 27 officers overall, 1 chief, 1 deputy chief, 2 lieutenants, an admin lieutenant, a patrol lieutenant, they call it, and 5 sergeants. Clinton PD, 27 officers, 1 chief, 2 captains, 6 sergeants, 5 corporals. Madison PD, 33 officers, 1 chief, 2 captains, 2 lieutenants, 6 sergeants. Guilford PD, They have 40 officers. They have a chief, deputy chief, 3 lieutenants, and 7 sergeants.
You're going way too fast.
I'm sorry. So Guilford PD, 40 officers total.
Yeah.
So they're 15 more than us. This is a little stretch. Chief, deputy chief, 3 lieutenants, and 7 sergeants. Yeah, that's the last one they have that I thought was relevant to bring up.
How many does Clinton have?
Clinton has 27 officers total. They have a chief, 2 captains, and 6 sergeants.
Like corporals.
Yeah, actually, Clinton has 5 corporals. So they have a corporal structure.
Like under sergeant.
So what they do with the corporals, so corporals it's supervisory rank between officer and sergeant.
Okay.
And what they do is when the sergeants are off on vacation or sick, corporals step in and be, instead of backfilling a sergeant, they'll have a corporal step up and be a supervisor.
Okay.
So it is in smaller agencies.
And smaller, okay.
I'm not proposing it.
I've never heard of it, but
Yeah.
in like a small department, that's why I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I mean, down south, it's a structure that you'll see a lot more. Up here, you'll see them, smaller agencies will have corporals as opposed to sergeants sometimes. The reason I'm not proposing it is, we have a relatively young department. And I think, if we had corporate positions, we'd be kind of hard pressed to fill them right now. It might be something that we might want to entertain in the future. But we have our sergeant ranks completely full, and I think we're in good shape there. If you look at the structure that I'm proposing as opposed to what we currently have, I didn't give you. So there's an MOU that from a year ago that created 2 lieutenants. It was Lieutenant Walsh and Lieutenant Millardo's positions. And then there's the captain. Is how we structured it. So essentially what I'm doing is you have 1 captain lieutenant that's vacant, you have the captain that's vacant, and you have 6 sergeants and a master sergeant. And a detective sergeant. That's one of those 6. So you have 4 regular sergeants, you have a detective sergeant, you have a master sergeant. What I propose for attrition and not elimination is in time to merge just sergeants as opposed to the subcategories of sergeants. It takes some, I will have to speak to the union about, because the master sergeant is in the contract. So there'll be some labor negotiations there. But what I'm proposing is we're not changing much in the top structure, but what we'll be doing is adjusting some of the sergeant level positions, as opposed to adding or subtracting from the bottom, taking one of the sergeants and filling that lieutenant position and not backfilling the sergeant.
Hey, I got a question, if I could ask one. Chief, how long do you think it would take for us to get a captain, the process to do that search and get everything done?
So I think if we, is what the appetite is. We could do it internally and we could do a posting, and we could, develop the qualifications and the requirements and the testing and the interview phase ourselves. Or we could look at using a organization like Public Safety Consultants with Russ Stevens again. I would suggest if we go that route that we scale it back a little bit. I don't know that we have to go as in depth. They did do a good job. I was thoroughly impressed with them. And to be honest, I did recommend that group to Hamden for their promotional process because I just thought it was that impressive to me. So I would be open to negotiations with that or a similar company to have some type of testing recruitment done, or I'd be willing to do it ourselves if we wanted to save some money. I could develop that process and propose it to the commission and see what the appetite is for how they want that done, whether it's oral boards, testing, assessment centers, written tests. There's a lot of different ways we could do it. That being said, I know you asked for a timeline. I think it'd be reasonable to think that if we brought this to our next police commission meeting, well, not the next one, the police commission meeting in December, with a full proposal to fill that position, to contract either service or have us do it. I think by February would probably be a good timeline to potentially be able to be interviewing candidates and have a selection. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely live within in those timelines.
Okay,
I would ask to, and this is a more a budgetary than need. So right now we have a detective sergeant getting a stipend, and he's getting captain pay and it's a necessary function right now. He's undertaking a lot more work than his job description requires. We just don't have the staffing and the command level to do it right now. I would be asking in the next several months for a promotional process for lieutenant, though. So a promotional process for lieutenant to kind of get us through. And this way I could stop the stipend and just have a command structure with 2 lieutenants and chief right now.
And when would you like to have that?
In the next several months, if we agreed on this structure,
Okay,
I could probably put something together in terms of I would probably prefer some type of assessment center or oral board testing for that position. Rank the candidate and bring the candidates the top 3 candidates in front of the police commission for selection and file a review. So that can be done relatively quickly.
okay. And that's for lieutenant.
That'd be for lieutenant.
All right. So we're backfilling one position and we're going to move forward with the captain.
And the
Okay,
captain is non-union, so I mean,
right,
completely up to us how we want to do that recruitment and testing. There's no contractual guidelines for that. There really is very little in the contract about testing anyway. But I would like to follow a lot of the civil service rules and develop appropriate testing procedure that we're going to stick to and follow consistently in future. So I think whatever we do for lieutenants would be what I'd like to mirror in the future for a lot of our testing for union positions.
so if you guys remember correctly, we had already voted on the structure. We never filled in what the exact title would be on the second in command, but we had already approved the 2 lieutenants.
Yeah, there was an MOU done for the 2 lieutenants.
Do you guys recall that?
yeah, I remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
The question. I noticed in the different descriptions between captain versus deputy chief, the deputy chief was second in command and presumptive replacement for the chief, successor to the chief.
Right.
Not so with the captain. Would you explain the thinking behind that? Not that I'm not saying I disagree with it. I'm just asking you to.
Yeah, I think so. If we had a deputy chief in place, it would ideally be a person that could, if I would had a leave of absence, could seamlessly step in and take over all my responsibilities: budgeting, discipline, personnel management, staffing. Captain, I think, is more of a line supervisor role. And I think in a short term, they could step in and manage the department, but I probably wouldn't assume that person would have all the capabilities of completely running the department fiscally and managing the budget and implementation of policies and accreditation and things like that. I want that to be the captain. I want it to be a little more field oriented position as opposed to administrative position. But I think in the short time, if I was say going for a week or something, I think we would be fine with the captain role. I think if we had a deputy chief, I took a leave of absence for a long period of time, the deputy chief would be able to step in seamlessly. I think that's the only thing that, the benefit of having a deputy chief, somebody coming with that level of experience. And, it really depends on the captain we get. You very well may recruit a captain that was already been a deputy chief or has been a captain for a long time and is very capable. But you might not. And I'd be willing to develop that person to that level. I just don't know that you might not have that in the short term.
Do you think in the policing world, would it be realistic to think that if somebody was a deputy chief, that they would come to be a captain?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's very desirable,
Okay.
Especially for the deputy chiefs and captains and lieutenants out there that are already pension eligible in a lot of departments.
Okay.
I don't think looking at it as a step down. a lot of officers would look at it as just, the number 2 position in the smaller agency, and not necessarily care what you call them. Like you can call me whatever you want, and it doesn't really bother me. I'm a commander of the department, and I know my role, and I think that's kind of you're gonna get out of a lot of officers.
Okay.
coming over.
That's good to know.
Well, that is what we had like a bazillion years ago. We had our chief and we had Captain O'Brien forever. They didn't create a deputy chief position until former Chief Spear came in. So that is a structure that we have had, and it did work for a long time. Do you have any questions or comments about that or thoughts?
I am still concerned that it's a little top heavy for our department. I appreciate that getting the information from other departments roughly our size, and I'm frankly a little bit surprised at that. I think the deputy position is overboard for our department. We hired you to be, the frontline supervisor, the chief. I think the captain position makes a lot of sense. We've already got it in place. When we did the captain position, my recollection is that we thought the captain would be filled by one of the 2 lieutenant positions, and then the lieutenant position, one of those would disappear. Now we're having 2 lieutenants remaining. And I'm wondering, I understand the importance of the administrative lieutenant for all those services, but on the operational side, on the patrol side, if we have a captain experienced in patrol, which I would imagine we would insist upon, why do we need a lieutenant backing the captain up? Because both would be, I presume, day shift jobs. Both would be supervising sergeants. And I just have a hard time wrapping my hand around why that's necessary.
Yeah, and so my thought with that lieutenant, the operations lieutenant, is a lot of what would be done besides patrol is overseeing the investigative services. And that's what that detective sergeant is doing now. I think that takes a lot of the workload throughout the day. The body camera review and the FOIA requests. There's a lot there. And I think it would be too much for one person. So that's why I wanted to keep the same number of supervisors. I don't want to add, because then essentially what you're doing is taking away the bottom, right? So we kept the same number of supervisors this year, losing one sergeant, essentially. You're creating a lieutenant to have a structure that flows a little better. I don't think it's a redundancy to have the captain and the lieutenant. I get what you're saying, that you're both overseeing the staff. But I think there's enough work for both of them. And I don't think they'd be doing the same amount of work. I think there's enough assignments there, especially in the investigative side, and the evidence storage and processing. We don't have a lot of officers that handle, we divide a lot of tasks. It's like evidence storage and evidence processing, investigations are all done by one detective. So right now that detective sergeant also takes a lot of cases. So you have that too, where they do step in and take over. So I think that the operations lieutenant would be taking over the evidence side of the table and freeing up that detective as well. So there's a lot of, that there should be a supervisory role for the evidence room and the property room and the evidence return and the court proceedings. I shouldn't really be a line detective.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, when we had that discussion about the lieutenants, it was going to be that we had the 2 lieutenants, and like this shows, one operational, one admin. And the idea was going to be that they each kind of get a handle on things, and then they were going to kind of switch a little bit because Lieutenant Millardo didn't have so much of the I don't want to say on the road experience, but as a patrol sergeant. So I didn't think it was going to drop off that quickly. when we created it. And I mean, if we think back, I mean, what was that, February or March? And really even haven't had two lieutenants, because,
Walsh left out.
yeah,
May I ask a quick question?
Mhm.
How many vacancies do we have, or how many positions do we have open on the patrol side?
With Lieutenant Walsh, it's just two.
Two. Okay. I'm just trying to figure out where the money is gonna come from to pay the captain.
Yeah,
And you know what I mean? If we have a full staff, then we're gonna be asking the town for more money to fill the captain's
We
position,
budgeted.
so.
but we
Yeah.
budgeted. for
We
a
did,
second.
we already, that's included.
Good.
So,
Yeah.
Well, I'm just.
So-
Yeah,
Yep, no, good, that's a good question.
yeah, no, you're right, and that's why we're not, so I was looking at it a few weeks ago, like, oh, I wanna fill, I wanna hire. And I'm like, wait, time out, if we're hiring potentially, you know, and I want this part of this recruitment, I wanna make sure we're opening up to our internal candidates as well as external candidates. I don't want to exclude anybody. But if we had the option of, we decided we want to go external, we can't fill all our ranks. Because we don't have
Because somewhat right, yeah, I'm just trying to think,
Yeah.
if we hire the consultant, where is that? You know what I mean?
Oh, the
We've got to,
consultancy?
yeah,
So the captain position is budgeted, I think 130, where I think the period was.
yeah, I remember where,
The consulting, yeah, I mean, we're spending a lot of money right now on administrative things. David Walgroup just hit us with a huge bill today for our internal affairs investigation. And Jen, what do we pay for the recruitment for the chief? 16,000?
yeah, yeah.
So would hope this would be a slightly less expensive endeavor.
Mm.
But I would say you should probably look at 10,000 if we're gonna hire a consulting group to do it. And, you know, I will put together some proposals for us to do internally and see if you like them. And if not, we put on that avenue and get you a quote for what that would look like too. But because of some of the expenses I inherited, we're definitely running a little tight.
I'm just trying to figure out how we're gonna, you know what I mean, how we're gonna manage the financial part of it, that's
Yeah.
all. And
So the staffing component of it, we're not exceeding 35. The captain position is budgeted.
Right,
You know, there might be the difference between the sergeant that we won't be filling in, the lieutenant we will, but there'll be a slight difference there. So I would have to account for that in this coming budget, the bump from sergeant to lieutenant.
Yep.
Well, you know, I
I'm
should
not
look at that
opposed to
'cause-
moving forward with any of it, I'm just.
yeah, no,
Like I said,
I'm
Good point.
I agree. I'm a finance budget guy myself, and I was always thinking that way, but we also had two lieutenants. We were paying that for with Walsh and Millardo, where we did have vacancy at captain. So I gotta look at that and see if we ever budgeted two lieutenants, but I'm not sure if we did or didn't. But I think
I believe that we did.
Yeah.
I believe that we did.
Yeah.
So I think we're in good shape, I just was, like I say, I brought it up because maybe one of those positions doesn't get filled this fiscal, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's all.
So Russ's bill was getting paid out of an off-budget account, right?
No,
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
it got paid out of our budget.
Jen would know.
out of our budget.
I thought it was all.
I thought
You can place the police
No.
admin.
No, it came out of professional services, the same one I believe that JKS is coming out of too. We didn't have any funding for it, so.
Right, it was supposed to
yeah,
originally
it
talked about.
Well, that would leave a lot of money left in police administration off budget account.
Right, so I mean, that could potentially be a source for it.
For,
And
yeah,
legal law firms should be coming out of legal.
So it was like, it's
7,000 in
That's because we have a
legal.
budget.
only $300 left.
Yeah, we always thought
Right.
that's gonna go over, but we won't change it.
Yeah.
Yep,
That
that's
was
problematic.
surprised by that bill today.
okay. So the overtime, when you're thinking of overtime, is that like a big concern for you at this moment until we kind of start implementing this plan here?
The stipends are costing us a lot of money.
Okay,
Not so much the overtime.
okay,
And the overtime, you know, we have to control a little better. I think there's, I would say some overspending, but there's some excess, staffing that we put on some events that I want to start scaling back and seeing if it's actually necessary.
Okay,
The shift over time, it's been controllable, and we were fully staffed, it's like -2. So we're not experiencing a ton of vacancies and backfilling.
okay.
And we have a young staff, so we don't have a staff with a ton of vacation time either. So that helps.
Does anybody have any other questions on what the position would be or the structure?
I like how it was separated. I appreciate you taking the time to give us a cross comparison, because it really helped digest the difference between each one, your role and responsibility, and also your input for each position. That was helpful to know how you foresee your department moving. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, so since the agenda's had discussion and possible action, I'm thinking that our next move should be to entertain a motion to accept this structure as presented by the chief of police
With a captain.
with the captain position.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
And then, I'll start putting together some proposals, like I said, for ideas we have for recruitment and testing. See what Commissioner has appetite for, we'll put on the agenda for next meeting.
Before we make you crazy with that, do you want us to reach out to Ross at Public Safety?
I can reach out to Russ and kind of get a
Get a feel.
Yeah, I
Okay.
got quote and
If there were any part of the process you would eliminate, what would it be?
it probably, I think the assessment center was great. It's probably a costly part of the process.
Sure.
The initial interview with just a consulting group, we probably don't need to do that. That was one you weren't part of. It was just,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I think we can do that, the commission, and we can do that as a group. File review, the resume review is perfect. I think the way he did it. I really like the writing sample. I think that probably shouldn't be very expensive, because all that is some emails and requirements of candidates. I think that shows who's a serious candidate, who is going to put the work in, and who has the aptitude for it, really. But I think it would just be that the interview phase. The assessment center would maybe could scale back a little bit, but I think that was definitely an important part of the phase.
Okay.
It
For
was
us-
expensive for each candidate,
Yeah.
the assessment center.
Oh, was that how they did? They billed it by candidate?
And it was like a set fee for each candidate.
So that'll be the
So
last
we
thing.
brought in 7 candidates, it was 7 times the fee for the,
I see.
so it was, we tried to keep it around 3, 2 or 3. That was our goal anyway, but it came out to 3.
My caution would just be that, as far as hiring a consultant versus doing it ourselves, you probably have an awful lot on your plate right now. And I think we'll continue to have a lot on your plate for the next several months. So, it may be penny wise, pound foolish to not use a consultant for something like this, where we do have the money in off budgets.
It would make my life easier, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
To hand over the reins. And
I think it would be just for you in your position within the department to just be removed from the process, from that standpoint of you spearheading it versus a consultant providing you with information.
Yeah, that's actually an important point too, because we don't have an HR department.
Right.
So unfortunately, I would have to be the HR department.
And if you had internal candidates that were thinking of applying, you don't know whether you're external.
That's a very good
Yeah.
point.
And also for your staff as well.
Yeah, I think having a consultant provides a very neutral playing field, and there's no injection of internal. Yeah,
So, those are very valid point. Are we in agreement? Then maybe I just ask Russ
I
to
would
give us a
say
quote for the
to-
next meeting.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
that's
Do you want to
important.
know that or do you want me to?
No, I can talk, because I'd like to talk to him about
Okay.
how it gets done and, what options we have really.
That's good.
There might be
Hey,
other.
do we have to make a motion to have the chief join the committee with us to be on it, or does he automatically do the search with us? Do we have to have a motion, or is he just on as because he's the chief now?
Well, I mean, we're not at that point yet, but yeah, we could make a motion to have a search committee and who we're gonna include.
I think it'll mirror image what we
Right.
did previously,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Probably is down the road.
Yeah. But knowing the timeline that the projected timeline that you're trying to capture, that February target date. So I think that's important that in our planning, that process has to be driven by dates,
The deadline.
date driven to meet what you're looking for.
I'll talk to Russ and see if that's a realistic timeline for him too.
Mhm.
Should I get other vendors? Are we pretty happy with Russ Stevens?
I would say we were so happy with
Yeah.
Russ Stevens.
Yes, and I think cost wise, he was fabulous.
Yeah,
Okay.
and very
So-
accessible too.
Yes.
So
I have to say, I think the assessment center for me was the best part of it because that was our first time seeing anybody face to face. Everything else was reading or watching a video.
yeah,
So yeah, I hope that is part of this because that I thought was really
I
important.
think that's a critical component
Yes.
of the search.
So when I talked to him, they said the only thing we'll likely scale back and unless you want it, is that interview phase with just him and the other consultant.
Right.
I think that's something you and Russ can just tag team together on.
Yes, and he
Yeah.
may also have suggestions on that too.
Okay.
So,
I would lean on him, kind of give yourself some
Mhm.
swimming room to,
I like that.
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, you may not have 34 applicants too.
Right.
Right. Excellent.
They have 60.
There's people reaching out already.
So yeah, I think that, moving forward with Russ is an ideal situation on many levels.
Do you think it's realistic that you'll talk to Russ before the meeting on Monday?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
I'll
okay.
talk to him tomorrow.
Okay. All right, then we can just include that to have some kind of a report on Monday.
I'll see if I can get something to write to him, a proposal.
Since we identified the timeline for Russ and the captain's position, how would you like to move forward with the other opening? You said that would be a few months, but do you want to get back to us on that?
Yeah, I'll get back to you next,
Okay.
because I also want to sit down with the union as well,
Okay,
before I put anything in place.
All right.
So I
that's good.
like to have a little bit of a discussion with the union first, because there's some changes, and it's, I don't want to use the word eliminating, because we're not, but I just probably choose not to fill certain things.
Can you add that information for Monday?
Which part of it, Mark? The union or Russ?
Yeah, that you talk to the union and you let us know.
Yeah, I'll try to accomplish both those in the next couple of days.
The board has to come first.
Yeah,
I would
do the
like
cap-
Russ.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Perfect. Does
Is
any-
everybody in agreement if there's a choice to move forward with the captain / Russ?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and, those, the testing phase for both those could essentially happen at the same time too, because they're gonna be independent of each other.
Does anybody have any other questions on this? That's our only item on the agenda.
Do you have any questions about?
No, but thank you for having me tonight. Definitely, I think something we need to get accomplished, so I can start moving forward.
I,
Material was very helpful. Thank you.
Awesome.
sorry. Sorry.
No, it's actually, I was putting stuff together anyway, but I appreciated the guidance of what you were looking for.
Okay, no,
Yeah.
thank you. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Can I just?
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, I'd like to thank everyone for the meeting tonight. Welcome, Kristen, and congrats to the newly elected commissioners, re-elected. And, yeah, we're in good shape.
I agree.
Yeah, very excited.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we vote on the motion to adjourn?
No.
I move to adjourn.
I second.
All in.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.